And hello, everybody. It is Tom Chenault, and it is my little boy, Adrian. And I got to get my head back a little bit because my head looks so big next to his. So, hello, Adrian. How are you, man?
I'm good, Dad. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm doing fine. I haven't. You worked too hard.
It's a terrible affliction.
It really, truly is. How's it going?
It's going awesome. Yeah, big stuff going on. Big, just huge launches. I wish I could say more publicly, but NowSite is having a huge moment in the world of network marketing, and so it's a good time to be alive.
What's so crazy is when I was kind of running the show at Contact Mapping, we were using a pea shooter, and now you guys use a howitzer, and it's just really cool. The affiliations that you've got, what you've got going on, I'm so completely proud of you, and I'm not jealous of the fact that you have to work so doggone hard. I think it's awesome, and we have got a great show today. I have been a fan of this guy, and he's written a ton of books, but one of the books that, if you really want to get his life story, he's in this book. And what you want to do is skip the chapter about Jeff Weisberg and go straight to the chapter about John Solleder, because this guy is the greatest, and he's been around since 1983. He's been at one company for an eternity. He's been through thick and thin. He is a leader. He's a speaker. He's an author. He's a mentor, and he's a consultant. And that's a big amount of things to be. I'm like two of those. And I'm just in awe of him. I've always wanted him on here. It's beautiful to have you, John. And talk to me about your life. How you doing, man?
You hear us, John?
Lost you guys for a second there. You were saying all this nice stuff about me, and I think my wife came in and stopped the computer or something.
He blacked out, man. Too nice of an intro.
Somebody froze you on purpose. So yeah, good. It's good to see you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, guys. Thank you so much for having me. And this is going to be a lot of fun. And likewise, back at you guys. Big fan of your family and everything you guys have done, and your multiple contributions to our industry. And I don't say that lightly, because like yourselves, I'm a student of this game for 42 years last week that I started. So been around a while.
And, our unbelievable friends of the show, well, there's so many of the people that starting with Larry and Taylor, and just that crew of really tight people that are doing this business by the book for so many years is so inspiring to us. And why I wanted you on here is because everybody's freaking out about this industry profession going to hell in a handbasket. And the only thing going to hell in a handbasket is really the tricks. The fundamentals are going to stick around, like Larry Thompson says, and all these little schemes and ideas and shortcuts are going to go by the wayside. And this is a good cleansing, in my opinion. And we want you to do all the talking because you are the master. And what do you think of what's going on out there, man?
Well, when I go back to the beginning, where I started 42 years ago, this month, April 18th, 1983, poor college kid, started out, and I'll talk about mentorship as we go here. But when I started, Mark started Herbalife out of the trunk of his car. Mary Kay started out of the trunk of her car. Husband died the same week that she started the company, started anyway with some help from her son. Jay and Rich, basically, bought Neutralite and, continued out of the trunks of their cars, right? You had Neo Life, which was, similar story. You had a couple of other small companies that were the same. And the companies were started and run by distributors who became owners.
Yeah.
And that was a healthy trend because family business. And a family business in the respect that they saw an impact. When they paid for their kids' piano lessons, they saw that John went out and did volume, and it helped to pay for their kids' piano lessons. We've lost that because the investment bankers came in. Now, in one respect, it's a testament to you guys, to Larry, to Taylor, to Jeff Weisberg. Hard to say, but, I think he's on the show. But at the end of the day, in all seriousness, it's a testament to the job that we did, that these Ivy Leaguers basically recognized our industry as valid. And why wouldn't they? Let's think about this. Okay, Warren Buffett's normal business is he employs 200,000 people. A guy breaks his arm running a forklift, sues him. A network marketing person goes out, breaks their arms delivering product to their next door neighbor. You don't sue the company. You're self-employed.
Yeah.
You're a 1099 contractor. So why wouldn't they recognize the value of that? The downside of that is they've never worn distributor shoes. And
Yep.
because they never wore distributor shoes, they don't really understand what we do. So what do most of them do? And they cut the plan. They come in, they cut the travel incentives, or they make everything so difficult that 15 people qualify instead of 1,500. And they do all of these things that weigh the incentives from the field. That's what I've seen. This Solleder situation is it's exactly what it is. Thanks, Jeff. It's exactly what it is. It's greedy people buying companies and raping and pillaging them, doing what Al Dunlap did years ago with Sunbeam when he took it over, and other guys that they're pariahs. They buy these companies. They have no idea what we do. They don't care what we do. They don't care to get to know you as a person. Know the fact that you have bills to pay too. You got kids you want the better things in life for. And they take advantage of the situation. Now, that's not all. Some of them have done a decent job. Okay. But some of the ones that have bought the companies that have done a decent job don't even like us. That's the problem. Now, how do we fix it? More importantly, because we all have to make a living. We're not investment bankers. I don't have $200 million to go buy a company. Neither do you guys. Neither do most of your listeners. So at the end of the day, what we do is outsmart them. How do we outsmart them? A couple of ways. Number one, we acquire the skills that we say, hey, company, if you don't want us, somebody else does. That's what's happening right. Some of these people are transitioning with their skill sets and their downlines to companies that want them, that say, hey, come over here, we'll treat you properly. That's one thing that's going to happen. Number two, there will be a consolidation. I think you're going to see more companies merge and get acquired, okay, than we've ever seen before. And this has been predicted. Larry Thompson and I have been talking about this for 10 years, frankly, so surprised.
Uh-oh. He's got a pretty bad internet connection over there, but you guys, this guy is an absolute legend, and he'll pop back up here as soon as he spools up. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I'm here. And I think that's the second point, okay, is that people will take their skills and they'll go elsewhere if they're not treated properly. And distributors in these companies have to almost go to ownership and say, look, when they're coming in, you can't do it after the fact, but when they're coming in the door, hey, look, we collectively are going to almost unionize where we've built this brand. For example, I've been brand building for 29 years with one company. Okay. Somebody comes in and buys the company. Whoa. Before we commit to you, you commit to us that the business model stays the same. Any changes are advantageous to the field, not adversarial to the field. Okay. And I know of one company, I can't name it because confidentiality, but I know one big company, that's what the leadership did. They told the people coming in, hey, you can buy the company, that's great. But at the end of the day, if we're going to stay and we're going to continue to produce, we're going to have a contract with you that you cannot change the business model unless it's to our advantage and we sit down and we talk. And sometimes business to change things for financial reasons. But let there be a rationale, not, hey, the investment bank needs another 5 points. Okay. Right. That's not a rationale. Like if you want to play in our pond, you have to play by rules that are fair to everyone in the game. You can't just come in and say, you're little people, we're going to push you around. And that's what I see. And I think there's organizations out there that are on that same page. I'd like to see distributors not go through what Solleder went through, what Beachbody's gone through, what Advocare, my old company, people went through. I mean, you have a check on Friday and it's gone on Monday, et cetera, et cetera. So, at the end of the day, I think we got to push back a little bit and not just say, well, they've got big lawyers and everything else. So that's great, but we've got skills. You don't have skills. If you did, you could build a downline. You don't have the skills that we have. You have something we don't, a lot of money to build marketing and to help us grow, but let's be together. And smart companies will do this. We are seeing some smart companies that are having this philosophy where they're communicating between the field and the corporation. And those companies will survive and they'll flourish. And they'll be the companies that acquire all of these other companies and distributorships and everything else over the course of time. I I think we're going to see more of that, not less of that going forward. And the other thing is, I'd say, there's one other part to this. Distributors always build your brand. At the end of the day, I recognized in 1983 that I was the brand. Yeah. It wasn't Herbalife where I started. It's not Immunotech today. Those are my suppliers to my business, and I love those corporations. They both treated me well. Early in my career, late in my career, I've been treated well by both companies. But at the end of the day, I never recognized the fact or didn't recognize the fact that I needed to grow myself as the brand, that people knew who John Solleder was. Okay. And that I needed frequency with my podcast, frequency with my books, frequency with my skills. A year ago, for example, I couldn't have told you how AI works. Today, I use it every single day in my business, and I'm going to continue to use it. Why? Because it's a skill builder. And, some people say, well, at 64, why do you still care? You've made plenty of money. Yeah, I have. But at the end of the day, I'm not done yet. I'm looking at another 30 years, God willing, ahead of me to grow and build and build my enterprises with. So I need to continue on my skill set to make sure that I sharpen the sword so I don't become a dinosaur in the process, that I continue to know what I'm doing and to evolve instead of just being like one of these old distributors. Well, in the old days, we did it like this. Totally. I started. Did we freeze up again?
You're okay.
I don't know if that's on you guys then or my end, but anyway, we started, Tom, you'll relate to this better than Adrian will, but we started our businesses with phones plugged into the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Now we got phones that could, launch a space shuttle. So at the end of the day, I mean, that's where business is going. It's at the speed of light. A friend of mine in Las Vegas who's big with AI, he's not a network marketing guy, he's a business guy, but he says AI or die. Well, I believe that. AI or die, and learn how to do podcasts. And even if you don't go to the level that you guys have, or even that I have, get your name out there with frequency so people know who you are, that they'll follow you. And in the event that something happens and a company blows up, it's no different than your car. If your car blows up, you don't go, well, I'm never going to have another car. I'm going to walk everywhere. That's not practical. You're going to go get another car. It's a vehicle. And all of these companies are vehicles to get from point A to point B. If that were not the case, Avon would be the only direct selling company in history, and Amway be the only level in history. If that were the case, that there weren't other vehicles that people like more and make a business decision to go and I like that product more, I like that service more, et cetera, et cetera. So choices are good. That's capitalism. Okay. Right. And give people good choices, and you become the leader so that they tie themselves to your wagon and know that you're on the top of your game. And if it ever comes a situation like any of these that we mentioned, adverse, your people say, where are we going, John? Where are we going, Tom? Where are we going, Adrian? Let's go do it again. And let's do it
exactly right. Exactly right. So two things. I want to give a quick plug because John's got an awesome podcast that you need to check out. It's leavingnothingtochance.com. He's got a great book and a great podcast under that brand. You want to go and check that out. So make sure you do that. But you hit the nail on the head, John, right? People are buying you before they are buying it every step of the way. And Michelle Barnes, dear friend of ours, huge leader at Modere. And I had a conversation with her the other day. She said, I was literally I was in the process of enrolling someone into Modere, and all of a sudden the website flickered and the thing popped up in the middle of the enrollment. And it was like a single mom, somebody who, had put a lot of trust in Michelle. And Michelle, I can't imagine what that moment must have felt like. But she said, hey, look, here's the deal, right? I don't know what just happened, but something really bad just happened. But are you doing this because you are obsessed with Modere, or are you doing this because you trust me? I'm doing this because I trust you. Okay, great. I don't know what the next thing is yet, but I'm going to figure it out. And do you want to come with me when I do? Yes, I do. Okay, great. Well, hang on. I'll be back to you soon. And sure enough, they're off to the next thing. they're figuring it out. They're doing huge things. That person's going to come along for the ride. And so are a lot of other people, because that's the kind of leader that she was. That's the kind of leader you are. That's the kind of leader that you are. And that's the name of the game, right? You have currency when you do that. If you build your entire house on the foundation of just that company's brand, you don't have control over what might happen if a private equity firm comes in or some other crazy thing comes in and knocks it out, right?
100% right. And John hit the nail on the head. The crazy thing about it is everybody's all just they're up in arms because of Rodan Fields, or all the various companies that have done this crazy stuff to their distributor force. That is such a small amount of companies in the big picture of network marketing companies. It's unbelievable. And out there in the other world, corporate America, whatever you may want, there are layoffs every day. And those guys, they walk in and they just take a hatchet across the board and wipe out a division, thousands of people. And those people are now back on LinkedIn looking for jobs that aren't there. And in the network marketing world, it never happens what happened to Modair. It's so rare. A few of them have happened in this year. But at the end of the day, every one of those Modair people, every one of those Rodan, there are companies with their arms open saying, hop on, join us. No one is acting like you're not smart enough, good enough. They all want you. And once you get the skills, like John just talked about, they are your skills for life. And what makes me crazy is I am Modair. I am Rodan and Fields. I am this company. I am that company. And that's not true. You are you. You represent their brand and their products. But I'll tell you one thing right now, never make the mistake that you are them, because it will hurt you in the long run. And John has hit the nail on the head. Two companies have treated him like a lot over the last long career that he's had. But who he has been always is John Solleder. Nothing else. Not either one of those companies. And that's a beautiful thing. And thank you for saying that, because it's so important to emphasize that to everybody out there. TomChenault.com. I may have a lot of things that I'm involved with, including my son, but I'll guarantee you one thing right now. I will be along, I'm only going to be alive as long as Tom Chenault's alive. Then it's going to be whatever the hell he james it to. But I am going to be me until I die. And that's what John's trying to tell you right now, too. Be your best you and make noise about that as much as anything you're doing. Right, John?
And Tom, I'll add to that. Okay, what do we really sell in this business? Hope and opportunity. Like Michelle, good friend of mine as well. Love Michelle. And this happened to her twice. Let's remember Vima. Okay,
Yep.
So this happened to once FTC. I mean, BK is a great guy, but unfortunately, that situation. So this has happened to this girl twice, and she's still in the game, single mom, still out there fighting. Okay, because we offer hope and opportunity. But think of it this way, folks: we're living at a unique time. These skills that exist, these technologies, everything from WhatsApp, where I can talk to people all over the world basically for free, okay, to AI, to all of these other technologies that are out there, and what's to come down the road. We're living at a great time. This is advantageous. This is a time of opportunity if we view it that way. Versus, my company, okay, hey, listen, I mean, there's a guy, I don't know the fellow, Jeff mentioned him to me. I guess his check was like $160,000 that he didn't get paid. That's a tremendously large amount of money. How do you rebound from that? Well, you just do, okay? We all had to rebound from different things in our lives, right? This is not your entire life. This is what you're doing, okay? It's an important part of your life, but it's not the sole part of it. So at the end of the day, you pick yourself up by the bootstraps and you do it again, and you take the skills with you. But the skill development is the most important thing. When I started in '83, and I heard Larry Thompson say, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. I realized it wasn't who the president was. It wasn't who my parents were. It wasn't where I was born. It wasn't who my sisters were or my neighbors. It was up to me. And I started to read the Think and Grow Riches and As the Man Thinketh, and all of the great books that existed at that juncture. Okay, The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Peel was the very, very first book I ever read. Self-development. I started realizing all of these great authors had contributed to my self-development if I just took time to turn off the TV and open a book, for example. And today that book might be a little different. Today it might be a podcast, or it might be a course you're going to take at your community college, or it might be something you're going to take online. But continue to self-educate and make yourself so valuable to you that anything you go to, people follow because they know you're up on it. Okay. They know that you've done your homework, so that if they follow you to that next business, like there people are asking people to do right now, that they've got the confidence that you're making a wise choice on the supplier, because that's all these companies are, is a supplier. And at the end of the day, that you're making a wise choice, they'll follow you, but that also you've the tools and the mechanisms to help them grow their business, because hope and opportunity is what we sell. We don't sell Modere or Munical or Herbal Ackley or New Skin. We sell hope and opportunity to normal people that need something in their life that's exciting, but they also need it for the bottom line. They need it to, pay the simple things in life: final expense insurance, SEP retirement accounts. There's the insurance guy me talking right now. Okay. They need the money to provide long-term care for when they get older. Okay. All of those things that need to be funded because your company goes out of business haven't changed. Okay. The need for your family, 529Cs for your kids if you got young kids that you hope to go to college. Okay. All those things are funded from a network marketing business if you're smart. And at the end of the day, that's what you're buying into, not a particular company. Don't fall in love with your company, folks. That's all I'm going to tell you, because it may change. It may change for me still. I don't know.
There you go. There you go.
And another thing that is the kiss of death is letting your upline do everything for you and you not learning the skills. I am going to tell you, the day is going to come when that upline may split. And you're going to be left with, I got to run this thing, and I don't even know my organization, because I know so many people that are binary writers. They got one leg, and you call them on the phone and they tell you how many people they've got in their organization and what they've done. And what really happened was nothing. They hit the nail on, they got lucky, and they've got that imposter syndrome, and they never really go learn it because they didn't think they earned it in the first place. And I'm just telling all of you, you're in the greatest profession on the planet, but it takes work. And if you develop those skills right now, while you've got a check coming in and you're using that as an insurance policy against the future, there's nothing that's ever going to stop you. Because if your company goes out of business, it is, so what? It's tough. I'm sorry for them. I'm sorry for me, because it's going to really, really force me to go back to work. And it's happened to me a few times through my career. I had to go back to work. But one thing I wasn't was scared, because I had the skills, right, John?
Exactly. It's funny you say that, because I had an interesting thing in '96. I left one company in Canada. I had been the top distributor for 8 years financially. I left the company a few years ago. I was still collecting a check. And I come down here to Dallas, and I was working with Charlie Regis with Advocare for a number of years. And within 90 days, I literally left both organizations. My corporate thing, I left my percentage of sales at one company, and I left my downline at the other. I had zero income. Now, I had money saved, okay, I wasn't totally crazy. And I went over to Israel. I was actually in Israel with Jeff. And I said, maybe I'm done with network marketing. Maybe I'll do something else. I've got other skills. And I thought about a lot of things, and my mother got sick. And that's kind of where Munical came from. Nobody knew what a Munical was. It was a little tiny company in Quebec with no distributors. I mean, I had like 15 distributors. I went to the first meeting I ever went to. There was nobody there. I was like, this is crazy. But because she got sick, she got on that product. She got a result. Then I found out it was network marketing. Okay. And it was like, okay, great. But I started out with no income, no deal, by the way. Company didn't write me a check. The guys that owned the company were business guys. They didn't know, like, you bring somebody like me in, you help me out a little bit, and they had nothing. I started from zero. I spent my own money to buy my product. I started from zero, and today we have over 1 million distributors in 18 countries. And at the end of the day, you say, well, that's great for you, John, but here's the thing. What did I bring with me? Brought my skills.
Yeah.
I had learned at Advocare, at Lifestyle, at Herbalife. Okay. The skills that I had were transportable to the next business. And all I did was did what I did elsewhere obviously, and what I had taught, because I've been teaching this business for years too. But I just did what I knew how to do. I didn't create anything. I just went to work, to Tom's point, right? I kind of did what Charlie Vegas used to call me. He used to say, and I worked for him on the corporate end. He said, you're a lunch pail distributor. That's what I love about you. You bring your lunch pail to work like a construction guy. And I was raised in the construction business in New Jersey, by the way. My family were all construction people. And it was like, that was my attitude. I went to work at, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I came home at, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I grinded all day. Well, that's what it took. But I knew that that's what it took. So when I began again, I did it all over again. And I look at some of the people I've helped mentor in different companies. They've got that same philosophy. Brian Carruthers at Legal Shield, prime example. Brian's a grinder. Brian's not afraid to work. Okay. And he's one of many examples. And I had nothing to do with Dan McCormick's career, but Dan McCormick's a grinder. I mean, I think of the different guys I know in the industry, the women I know. My late friend Arlene Lowy, over at Market America, she was a grinder. She got up early. She worked her butt off all day. The day she died, she did 3 conference calls and died that night. I mean, that's what it takes sometimes to build a business. This is your business. It's not the company's business. It's your business. Take the responsibility for your future. Don't leave it in somebody else's hands. To your point, Tom, if your upline's great, okay, and I've had some good uplines over the years, okay, but at the end of the day, I've always kind of been self-guided because I was always like, okay, here's what I'm going to do based on what I know, okay, and that's what I've done, time and time again, and it's worked, it's worked pretty well. And if I were to leave tomorrow, leave my current situation, which I have no plans on doing, but you never know, I just go do it again, a little older, a little wiser. I'd use technology a lot more than I did in the past because the technology didn't exist. I had on my desk, I don't know where it went, but you'll appreciate this, Tom, more than Adrian will. My son's cleaning the garage a couple years ago. He's 21 now. And he comes in and he's got a cassette in his hand. And the cassette said, why the medical discovery of the 21st century led me to walk away from $40K a month, which was my retirement income from the company I was with called Lifestyles at that time. I start from zero. So he hands me this cassette tape. He goes, what is this? I start giving him the sales pitch. This is where I interviewed the doctors that created the product, right? He's like, I don't care about any of that. What is this? He literally had never seen a cassette tape before.
You're kidding.
21. This is 29 years ago that I put this cassette tape together, right? Or at that point, about 27 years ago. Point being, that's how technology's evolved from cassettes to 8 tracks to now, everything's an app. And by the way, one other point on what I was saying earlier, how it's easier today. You think, Tom, and you did this, I know, okay? And Adrian, you probably did this. You've been in the industry a long time. We mailed out cassette tapes. That was about $3 a pop, the tape and the postage.
You want to tell him my first job?
Tell him.
He had a 4-tape duplicator, and it was a real-time 1-to-1 duplicator. So his way of tricking me into listening to personal development at like age 4 was he would pay me like $1 an hour to duplicate the tapes on this crazy metal briefcase looking thing that was.
I just brainwashed it. And it worked out. It worked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
was a dirty trick.
A couple of days ago, I had to mail a check. So first of all, I had to try to remember how to write the check. And then I went and grabbed a stamp from my wife's office to put it on the envelope. And I licked it and stuck it on the envelope. And I go, what the hell is wrong with this thing? And it was because they don't lick stamps anymore. They have the adhesive. But I'm so old. I thought I'm a dinosaur. I remember licking stamps all day long and finally they finally made the little sponge. But yeah, I go back so far and that's terrible stuff. It's frightening.
Well, I started with cassette tape I did. And a direct mail letter that I had a guy in Pennsylvania, I wrote it, I let him clean it up. And we mailed out like 5,000 of these things, cost a fortune to get my business started. Today, you're interested? Here's what's free, right? I mean, so that, so once again, the grass is still very, very green if you see it that way. If you just totally embrace the negative, okay, yeah, you'll convince yourself of anything. But if you take the positive and say, hey, we're living at this unique time, the opportunities ahead of us are crazy. I look at some of these companies where I've never heard of some of these distributors that are making crazy money. I mean, crazy money. And I never heard of the people. And then I find out about them, and they're 32 years old, and they're using G well. They're building downlines like crazy, doing all sorts of wonderful things. And I'm like, hey, we got a great future. My own son's one of them, by the way. He's a college kid studying to be an engineer. He uses technology. He's been one of my top retailers with Immunitech. He's actually doing some work for different friends of mine in the industry with different companies, which, I shouldn't promote that, but hey, he's his own man. And I say to people all the time, if anybody's got an issue with that, let me explain that. His gift, his knowledge is his knowledge of the internet. It's not a particular product or brand. And I think we're going to see that 18 to 35-year-old sector of the economy that looks at our industry and says, hey, my skill is what I know about AI and or the internet, okay? And I'm going to utilize that to build something. And I'm willing to use your brand network marketing company. And we have to educate owners and managers in our industry. That's okay. If a guy wants to promote my brand, terrific. I'll take all the sales I can get from him. Don't terminate him because he's daring to go out and promote a skincare line, a health line, a legal line, or whatever line. Like, be smart and say, hey, we want this guy's sales because he's willing to participate in our company. Okay, look at it that way, because that's another thing. Years back, it was like you were in one company and another company. If you had a product in your house from another company, these idiot owners would throw you out of the company. Why? Made no sense. Thinking's changed somewhat, but my point about that is the skill of these young people. We want a seat at the table for them. I tell owners all the time that I consult with, guys, you want these people at the seat at your table. They're not going to buy into your company. They're not coming to your convention. They're not sitting in the first row. They're not glad handing the owner or giving you a standing ovation. They could give a crap who the owner is. You know what they want? Give me the ability to take your product to market with what I know how to do, my skills. Leave me alone. As long as I don't make any ridiculous claims that jeopardizes everybody else's opportunity, alone, and let me function as an entrepreneur and help you build your brand. And we've got to be open to that in our industry. And we're not right now to some degree. I know some company owners that are still, looking like, how do I find out somebody's doing something else? Let it be. The entrepreneurial process is what built this country. And we have to allow that to happen if we are to flourish as an industry. Another point, you look at franchising numbers versus network marketing numbers, and both industries have roughly been around since the mid-50s, give or take. We can argue all day about where it started and blah, blah, blah. But about the 50s, if you look at Shack 56, Amway 58, Mary Kay 63 in that sector versus your McDonald's, your Kentucky Fried, et cetera. Why is the franchise industry so much bigger? Because it figured out, let people be entrepreneurs. Okay? Embrace entrepreneurship. Don't reject it and try to put a bunch of rules on it that are prohibitive. Let people be entrepreneurs and do what it is that they want to do. Okay? Once again, as long as they don't infringe on anybody else's business and they follow the rules of the road with FTC, FDA, etc. Let it be. Let it fly. We want these young people in our business. I'm embracing them. I've got a group down in Monterrey, Mexico, 18 to 25-year-olds that I work with every single month that are fully bilingual. These kids are killing it, and all they use is technology.
So I want to shift gears a tiny bit. At the beginning of the show, you talked about a problem that a lot of the companies are going to these private equity firms because they're out of money. And it's just natural. They're out of money. They can't borrow it from the bank, and they have to go to a literal loan shark called the private equity fund. And they make the deal. They agree to pay the egregious interest, and they agree to the consequences if they don't pay the money back. And all of us brain surgeons, us distributors that are so sanctimonious, going, why would they do that? I want you to think, especially you leaders, that walked in and you talked about a guy that had a giant check and all of a sudden that check's gone. and I know a ton of them. And these people are screaming for BDAs. They're working for upfront money and they're working for business development agreements. And they're all acting like those are something that they deserve. And I have no, I'm if as long as it's fully disclosed to your downline that you took the BDA, I'm probably not allergic to that. I'm on the board of the ANMP and we have conversation about this all the time. And I just think full disclosure is everything. But what I want to say to you, people taking the BDAs, is your sign. The people doing the BDAs are not the Roman Catholic priests and the nuns of the world. They are sharp businessmen that are writing a deal with you, similar to the deal that the company's writing with the private equity firm, where they're telling you that you either produce at a major level at a very fast pace, and they're going to give you the money. But if you don't pay it back, they're probably going to take your house. There's no difference, is there, John? I mean, there is as egregious a deal in the BDAs from the companies and from the side investors that are loaning that money to those distributors joining this company, but nobody's talking about that. I mean, the key to this deal is read the fine print, expect the worst, and don't sign bad deals, whether you're a company or a distributor. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree with you 100%.
Crazy.
Personally, I've never had one. I didn't know 29 years ago you could even ask for money. I'd say I'm a little naive. But at the end of the day, if I were to take one and I didn't perform, I would expect to pay the money back. I mean, at the end of the day, if you go to the bank and you borrow money to buy a car, you don't pay the bank back, they come and get the car. I mean, that's just the way that the real world works. Network marketing, sometimes we think we're immune from consequences of real world. This is something I've preached, by the way, going back to when I was Advocare, my only corporate stint, 30 years ago. You got to think like you're a business person. Yeah. Not a network marketer. We're business people. We're small business people. We're not any different than the guy who owns a Subway or a 7-Eleven or a gas station or any other business. The end of the rules to the road and how we have to adhere to not like it, but we can't take somebody's money and not perform. If we don't perform, we got to pay it back. It's plain and simple. So either don't take it, would be my advice, or take it and know that you've got a team ready to go so you can fulfill the numbers that are required to get that money.
I know a lot of Modere people, and I know a couple of Modere people that absolutely got hit by a hand grenade, and they had no chance. They were rebuilding and they got hit by the hand grenade. But most of those people had been making a ton of money for a long time. And I promise you they're spending as much as they're making, which is the nature of the beast. And it's a lesson to us all that, you gotta be ready for that black swan to hit the pond. It's gonna hit. I was talking to Jeff Weisberg earlier this morning, and he was talking about your great intellect, by the way. And he said, he actually said you're one of the smartest guys he's ever met. And I was really excited to do this show with you, to be able to talk about this kind of stuff, because I think Adrian's one of the smartest guys I ever made, but I did not get the brain gene. But at the end of the day, you're right. And all of you out there, this is the greatest business on the planet if you treat it like a business. And that includes, no matter how much your money you're making, to have a prudent reserve for that inevitable rainy day. I got in that terrible car accident here on July 24th, 9 months ago, where I was wiped out for a long time and could have been wiped out forever. And having that prudent reserve and a check coming in from network marketing literally saved my bacon, or we would have been just like everybody else out there that somebody would have been doing a novena for, because I'm now homeless. So please, all of you, you got to do that. Wouldn't you agree, John? And I think that's why people should listen to your podcast. People should buy your books. People should follow what you do, because you truly are a light in this profession for that type of thinking, and we need more of it.
A little there on my end, but let me add to that. Okay, first level of retirement, okay, is Social Security. Most Americans have Social Security. That's level one of savings. Level two is somebody who was smart enough to start a side hustle. Network marketing being the one that, obviously we believe in, not everybody does, but most people have some sort of a side hustle. What do you do with that side hustle money? Okay, is you start to put it into what's called a SEP retirement account. While you're in network marketing, you're eligible, even if you're part-time, to do this. Now you let that money start to build up. So you're a school teacher and you're selling ABC network marketing company product. You start putting that money into that SEP, whatever it is, $100 a month, $200 a month, $50 a month, $500 a month, whatever the number is. You start to put that money away. So this is level 2 of saving for your future. Okay. Now, level 3 is if you have other investments, right? You got some real estate maybe or whatever else. But most people, about 90% of people qualify level 1, but less than 40% of people qualify level 2. And what we need to do is we need network marketing people. This is why you're in business. You don't need the fancy schmancy car. You don't need the $50,000 Rolex. Who are you impressing? Nobody. 1985, when Herbalife crashed and burned, okay, and my check with it, by the way, okay? Saddlebrook, New Jersey, Marriott, we did our meetings at. A few months before, Mercedes, Porsches, all the latest cars. Now, I'm a young kid, by the way, okay? I bought a Pontiac Fiero. But anyway, I was a little, in those days. And I paid cash for it, by the way. But here's my point. All of a sudden, those cars become Volkswagens. They become in other words, all those guys lost the cars. All the high earners, they lost the cars. And I'm going to tell you, most of those guys lost their money because they never saved any, to your point, Tom. Okay? You got to think like a business person, a businessman or a businesswoman that owns a Subway or owns a 7-Eleven. They're thinking every month when they make money, take about 10% of it and pay yourself first. Put that money aside for your future. Otherwise, if what hits the fan, and we've seen it, we've seen it 3 times really in the last year, if we think about it, right? With Team Beachbody, Rodan and Fields, and now with Modair, and maybe more to come. The people who saved the money, they'll be fine, to your point. The ones who didn't, they got to scramble right now. And maybe they're going to make bad business decisions. Maybe they're going to go with the wrong company as a result. Going to chase the money because they didn't take care of their finances. Okay. There's a fiduciary responsibility in any business, including network marketing. You're a sole proprietor. You got to put that money away for your future if you want it to be there. Just let it build up. Just forget about it. Put whatever the number is, put it aside in that SEP. Secondly, if you, like I said earlier, if you have young kids, 529Cs, be ready for college. Okay. When my kids went to college, they're still in college, actually, 2 of them are. We had 520Cs. So if I had no income from network marketing, I knew when my kids were 4 and 5, my kids are a year apart, 4 and 5, that they could go to any college they want, including Harvard, Yale, and McGill. And I could pay for it because of the money I put away from my multi-level business. I'm proud of that.
Crazy.
Their future at a time where I could afford to do it. Okay. Not knowing what the future would bring here for that matter. Thirdly, you got to have life insurance. Plain and simple. You got to have life insurance. Plain and simple, folks. We're going to die. Okay. Only one guy got up and came back. The rest of us, when we died, we're gone. Okay.
Had life insurance.
You want to leave something. Okay. Plus, by the way, still tax-free to your family. Okay. Depending on the size of your estate. So, you got to, I don't want to get into a whole financial lesson here for the sake of time, but my point is you've got to take care of your future. Nothing gets me crazier than when I sit down with a networker and I know the guy's made, 50, 60, 80, 100,000 a month in XYZ company and they tell me they're broke.
Yeah.
You mismanaged your money. You can't blame your upline. You can't blame the company. You got to blame you for that. You take the financial responsibility for your future from your business. And by the way, if you're part-time, which a lot of you probably are, the same rules apply when you're part-time than when you're a big check earner.
Amen.
Same percentages you need to put away. You look at 10%. If you're making $1,000 a month, take $100 and stick it into your SEP retirement account. Okay. Or the 529C wants to get if the kids are young. You make that decision with your financial professional, but do it religiously. It's a discipline. Pretend you don't earn the money. Pretend that that's tax money. You don't own it. So when you earn it, it goes to that and you just forget about it. And you keep doing that. And before you know it, you're going to have a nice build up and you're going to go, hey, Solleder was right.
I agree 100%. Who's our guest next week?
Alan Newell.
Alan Newell. You know him?
I do. Yeah.
president of Texas Roadhouse or some crazy deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time guy, big network marketer. Okay, so John, we only have one question for you. Put swag.contactmapping.com up. This is the sponsor of the show, and we send John a t-shirt. That one says, this is a hoodie, fire your brain, hire your heart. Or this one, love like crazy, then love more. And you will be in company of a guy named Tom Chenault that my wife hates because I wear these shirts 365 days a year. So we're going to send you one of those shirts. That's the sponsor of the show called NowSite and Adrian's Gig. And we pay for all of this production through swag.contactmapping.com. So if you guys want to buy all this trivia, is it trivia? No. What's the word?
I don't know, but that totally took me off the word that you meant.
Okay, good. We love you so much, John, and welcome to being on the show. And I love you, and great to talk to you. And you're welcome back anytime.
Well, thank you, and likewise, love to have you guys on our show. So we'll send the Calendly, and let's do that.
Anytime you
Sounds
want,
good.
buddy. We love you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.